President Maithripala Sirisena says government is committed to develop domestic aviation industry in line with international standards.
Sri Lankan Airlines debt could have financed 3 MITs, a statement by the Prime Minister.
Joint opposition's Parde Otra protesters jeer at the SLFP headquarters on Dali Road.
විනය රැකීම ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ සියලුම පාක්ෂකරුවන්ගේ වගකීමක් වෙනවා.
සංසාරේ භවයේ දුක ශ්‍රී සෑසී දෙසූ මෙසේ දුක සැප නිති පෙරලේ රියසක ලෙස ලෝකයේ අද මාවත යන දුගියා හෙට ලොව අග රජ වෙනවා කළ කරුමය ඵල දෙනවා රජු මාවත බැස යනවා.
Parde Otra ends at Lipton Circus.
Police raid a centre in Hamtana Kandy where several girls were allegedly molested.
සිරස මේ අපේ වාර්තාකරු මෙතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ මහත්මයා තමයි මේ ළමයින්ගේ ආරක්ෂාව සලසලා තියෙන ඒ මහත්මයා. ඒ මහත්මයාට අපි ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා.
What's happening around the world?
And what's happening here at home?
Good evening, this is Primetime News and I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
And I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Now let's take a look at your top story tonight. The 53rd Conference of Director Generals of Civil Aviation in the Asia-Pacific region got underway under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
Several MPs and ministers were in attendance at the event. The conference hosted by the Sri Lankan Civil Aviation Authority will continue until the 5th of August. Speaking at the event, President Maithripala Sirisena said that the government is committed without any reservations to upgrade, develop and maintain the domestic aviation industry in conformity with international standards and recommended practices. The President also requested international aviation players to focus attention on planning and developing human resources to face the future needs of the aviation industry. Noting that while Sri Lanka has a relatively good safety maintenance record with no major incidents, the President added that nevertheless aviation safety remains a top priority.
There is a crucial role that the aviation sector has to play. We realize that Sri Lanka's main focus has to be a hub not only for aviation but also for sea cargo. That is to become an air-sea hub. Earlier, as you know, many of you know, our policies were geared mainly to the protection and expansion of the Sri Lanka's national carrier at the expense of the development of the airport. The debts that we had to incur, which has now become inheritance to the Maithripala Sirisena government, is sufficient for us to have put at least 3 technology institutes of the standards of MIT, and to ensure that it was manned, the senior officials were paid American professors' salaries. But we don't want this carrier to disappear. We want it to be efficient. So as the minister said, we call for public-private partnership so it can be run efficiently in a very competitive atmosphere where the focus comes on Sri Lanka's airports being the hub.
Meanwhile, 3 new secretaries of cabinet ministries received their letters of appointment from the Secretary to the President, P.B. Abikun, today. Aslo Virikon has been appointed as the Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. J.J. Ratnasiri was appointed as the Secretary of the Ministry of Public Administration and Management, while D.G. M.V. Hapuarachi has been appointed as the Secretary of the Ministry of Postal Services.
The Parde Otra protest march organized by the joint opposition concluded at Lipton Circus this evening.
The final day of the Parde Otra protest march began from Kiribati this morning. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa joined the event.
There are school children here. I don't know if they skipped school to be here. We asked them to return to their schools. I forgot that it was the school holidays because of the Parde Otra. Our efforts will not only be successful, it will be the first step in chasing away this government. So prepare to leave because the auspicious time is almost upon us.
දැන් සූදානම් වෙන්න අපේ පාගමන පිටප්පන්න. දැන් හොඳ නැගත් වෙලාව.
The march began following the symbolic release of balloons by the former president. Even though the march began its journey towards Colombo, its final destination was not revealed until this evening. Can you tell us the final location of the rally?
We will reveal it in a bit, because if we do so now, they will dig trenches in a number of grounds. If this happens, it will be a complete waste and the children will not be able to use it in the evening. In the end, we will end up where you end up. They give us letters and we accept.
The protesters marched along the baseline road and proceeded towards Maligavatta from the Orugoduvatta junction. The former president rejoined the rally from Maligavatta.
In the midst of our procession, the government took measures to grant permission for a different ground in place of the ground which we initially wanted but did not get authorization for. They have given us the Campbell grounds, but we did not ask for the Campbell grounds. This rally will proceed towards Hyde Park. On our way to Hyde Park, we will make Lipton Circus our main platform.
Meanwhile, a group of protesters acted in a disruptive manner opposite the SLFP head office located along Dali Road.
According to our reporters, heavy traffic congestion was reported along the Kandy-Colombo main road due to the protest march organized by the joint opposition. This was the state of the baseline road at 3 p.m.
A man who once lived like a lion has resorted to roaming the streets. The people are highly inconvenienced by it. We have been on the road for nearly an hour. If you want to walk, then why don't you walk around the parliament? I am 1.5 hours late. We are saddened by what they do. What can we do? They have destroyed the entire country.
Work commenced on Friday at the Hambegamo Secondary School to ensure permanent clean drinking water supply for students under the Gamma the 100 Days initiative. For several years, these children have been forced by circumstances to drink brackish water. An even greater cause for happiness is that upon witnessing this project, the President has taken steps to implement a clean drinking water project for the people of Hambegamo too. The project will be sponsored by the Sri Lanka Navy.
Gamma the 100 Days, Day 13. While the clean drinking water project for the children of the Hambegamo Secondary School is already underway, the foundation stone was laid today for a scheme that will provide clean drinking water for the residents of several villages. 800 families in the Hambegamo, the Devara village, Bimpokunugama, Sinugalapara, Rathabalagama, Watamada and Dhakalaga will receive clean drinking water under this project. There are certain issues that cannot be tackled alone. That is why we intervene to resolve these issues. Our aim is to resolve the issues faced by you and your neighboring villages as soon as possible. The President too has drawn his attention towards this issue. We appreciate the quick action taken by him. We need leaders and organizations that work like this. There are countless number of foundation stones that have been laid. However, it has not been completed. But today, we see that this project will end in 14 days. We see the progress of this project to our own eyes. The project is being implemented by the engineering branch of the Sri Lanka Navy. A resident spoke to Newsfirst regarding the project.
We made several requests to provide us with a solution and give us clean drinking water. We are forever in debt to the citizen media organization for the efforts undertaken. Now we could be happy that at least our children will be free from chronic kidney disease.
Meanwhile, work on the clean drinking water project, which was initiated for the people of the Borala village in Waligama, is also underway.
SLFP seniors had this to say regarding an incident where marchers in the Parde Otra had jeered at the party headquarters on Dali Road.
As a supporter of the SLFP, as a party member, as a person who was able to represent the people because of the SLFP, I condemn this shameless behavior. The SLFP headquarters is the hub of the party. A majority of those in their joint group are not people who can be identified as being from the SLFP. Who are the people in this? They are people who destroyed their own parties and later joined with the SLFP. SLFPers and the people in this country must understand that the democracy that has been brought to the party under the leadership of Maithripala Sirisena must be protected, and we must move forward together.
The joint opposition's Parde Otra continued to court controversy on the political stage today. Let's take a look at some of the opinions expressed.
A Parde Otra is a march or procession which should have slogans, and there should be a major protest against the government to exert massive pressure on the government. But we saw Namal Rajapaksa. I do not know if he was under the influence of alcohol or not, but it was shown on various TV stations how all of them were making stops at liquor stores and consuming alcohol. This was how he danced at 5, 6 and 7-star hotels during his era as Prince. But the people of the country could not see all of this. What are they protesting against? Was there any mention of the cost of living? Were there other issues faced by the people spoken of? No, nothing was spoken about. There is a song which speaks of the suffering of samsara. It speaks of how the poor man in the street could be king in the next life. It is about how we must face our karma and how at times the road to be king may disappear.
ආයුබෝවේවා මහරජාණෙනි කියලා සින්දු කිව්ව කට්ටිය.
මේ පාද යාත්‍රාවේ නොයෙක් සටන් පාඨ තියෙනවා.
There are various slogans being displayed on this Parde Otra. One is the constitutional death trap. We know that there is a need in the country for the establishment of a constitutional assembly to make constitutional amendments or even present a new constitution. Dinesh Gunawardena and Prasanna Ranatunga are in the steering committee, and so are Vasudeva Nanayakara and Pavitra Vanniyarachchi. Then you have Udaya Gammanpila and Sriyani Wijayasekara in the Judicial Committee. Bandalu Gunawardena is in the Financial Committee. Then you have Namal Rajapaksa, who is in the Committee on Law and Order. but they go before the country and call it a constitutional death trap. So it is with responsibility that I say at this point of time that this slogan should be considered as one which has been made without any basis.
සටන් පාටයක් හැටියට අපි මේ සැලකිය යුතුයි කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී වගකීමකින් ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
අපේ ජනතාව ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පාක්ෂිකයන්ම
Mahinda Rajapaksa, you are placing the people of the country and SLF peers in front of a shield, aren't you? This is being done for the interest of a few. Around 3 or 4 people like Vimal Veeravansa, Dinesh Gunawarthana and Udaya Gammanpilla are doing this with the intention of splitting the party. I openly charge that they are the ones who are behind this. A majority of those seated in the opposition do not want to do this.
There is a way of going on processions. You have to go on about 100 marches based on the current state of affairs for things like tax burdens, converting education and health services into trade goods, privatization of public enterprises and throwing burdens upon the public. The issue is that Mahinda Rajapaksa is not going on marches for these issues. There is a huge public outcry against this government's economic and political policy. So what Mahinda Rajapaksa is trying to do is to use this as an opportunity to create a path for himself to come back to power. He is not suggesting an alternate solution to these issues because he would do the same even if he comes back to power.
Former Minister of Economic Development Basil Rajapaksa has been further remanded until the 8th of this month. The Colombo magistrate also reached a decision to consider the revision forms which were forwarded by the former minister requesting bail on the 8th of August.
Former minister was taken to the Kaduwela Magistrate Court in an ambulance. The case was taken up before Kaduwela Magistrate Dhammika Hemapala. Following an inspection carried out by the magistrate, orders were issued to further remand the former minister until the 8th of this month. Basil Rajapaksa was arrested by the police FCID and remanded on the 18th of July for the alleged misappropriation of funds belonging to the Divi Nagama department. Meanwhile, the High Court has decided to examine the revision forms requesting for bail on the 8th of this month. Meanwhile, the case pertaining to MP Johnston Fernando obtaining goods from Sathosa worth 5 million rupees on credit was taken up at the Kurunegala Magistrate Court today. 53 documents were handed over by the lawyer representing the petitioner as evidence when submitting indictments. The High Court judge ordered that the case be taken up once again on the 28th and 29th of this month. The case filed against parliamentarian Prasanna Ranatunga, his wife Maureen Ranatunga and another respondent pertaining to the alleged illegal accumulation of 64 million rupees was taken up in court today before High Court Judge Manilal Vaidyathilaka. Since the third respondent is overseas, court ruled that a final decision on how to proceed with the case in the absence of the third respondent would be reached on the 30th of August. The petitioners asserted that there are 65 witnesses present to verify the claims made by them. The police FCIT initiated legal action against MP Prasanna Ranatunga and 2 others following a complaint received that they forcefully evicted a group of residents from a plot of land in Mitotamulla, Kolonnavar and obtained money from a third party on the promise that the land would be transferred to them.
The foundation stone was laid for the first Dhakalaga Mane in the Hambantota district under the auspices of Minister Housing and Construction Sajith Premadasa today. Minister Premadasa also provided financial aid to 58 families in the Valasmulla area in Mahayaya.
Today is the final day of the Vagabonds' March of Confessions. The people rejected the father. Now the son is going around confessing that it is his father who can do this. This Parde Otra is one of a kind. They are merrily dancing and having a jolly good time. Why? They are under the impression that once they march from Kandy to Colombo, the government would fall apart. These rogues are dancing their way to Colombo on this Parde Otra with the happiness in mind that once the government falls apart, they could go back to the king's castle and wipe the treasury clean.
The police conducted a search operation on an institute which was being run as a leadership training facility in Hantana, Kandy. Police officers had rescued several girls from the center who had allegedly been subjected to sexual abuse. Further investigations are underway.
A confrontation occurred this morning inside the institute located in Hantana, Kandy. The institute has been in operation for more than 3 months under the pretext of being a leadership training academy. The academy had coaxed the applicants, saying that the program has been designed to educate students who failed the ordinary level examinations last year. 18 girls were under the supervision of 4 matrons at the academy. The parents charged that a person who called himself the main lecturer at the academy had sexually abused 2 of the girls who were boarded at the hostel with the help of the matrons. The parents charged that a person who called himself the main lecturer at the academy had sexually abused 2 of the girls who were boarded at the hostel with the help of the matrons.
මේ කියන්නේ පොසොන් දවස් දෙකක් තිස්සේ රෑ එළියට ගෙනියලා තියෙනවා.
They've taken them out on 2 poson nights. They had taken these children out without giving any notice to the parents. They have taken my child and another in vehicles to engage in some misconduct. It's only now my child is able to speak about it in detail. When we come over here to see our children, they don't let us talk to them. We are under constant watch by the matrons while we are talking to our children. They do not let us talk to them over the phone either. We, parents, have spent at least 100,000 rupees for this academy.
2 girls who claimed they were about to be sexually abused early this morning by the man claiming to be the chief lecturer had fled the premises and contacted their parents with the help of neighbours.
The girls had climbed over the parapet wall, saying that they were about to be raped last night. They had escaped at around 3:30 a.m. after talking to us and then asked for the help of the neighbours. The person in the neighbouring house contacted us and said that the 2 girls managed to escape the facility and are secure under their care. They told us not to fear. They told us to keep the police informed with all the details. There was no one here. We informed the police at around 3:30 this morning, but there has not been any help.
The conduct of Newsfirst correspondent Anura Ananda was commended by the parents.
The police did not arrive at the location and work on the complaint which was lodged or ensure us about the security in any way. The Sirsa correspondent is the one who has come here after getting to know about the problem and provided safety for the children. He is the one who had given security to the children until we arrived, and the police arrived only later. We are immensely grateful to him on behalf of all the parents.
The 4 matrons who were managing the facility were taken into police custody around 6:30 this morning.
ඊ ළමයි දෙන පෙරලා ගියා කියන්නේ නැත්තද? 4 දෙනෙක්. ඈ? කතා කරන්න මෙයා කතා කරා. ළමයි 4 දෙනෙක් මේක කතා කරන්න නැත්තද?
මම කතා කරන්න පොලිසියට ගිහලා මම කිව්වනේ මොකද මීඩියා වලට නෙමෙයි කතා කරන්න කිව්ව පොලිසියට. පොලිසියට කතා කරා.
නෑ ඊ ළමයි 4 දෙනෙක් මේ පෙරලා ගියා කියන්නේ.
මම පොලිසියට කතා කරන්න.
චන්දි මාල්ට බොන්න බයිට් හදලා දීලා වා දන්නේ.
අනේ මහත්තයා මොකක්ද උනේ කියලා දන්නවද? එදා මොකක්ද උනේ? ඇයි මම පොඩෙන් මේ කියන්නේ.
කල් ඔයා නිදාගෙන හිටියේ. මෙච්චර දෙයක් වෙද්දි මේ ළමයි
බබා පෙන්නන්න එපා බබා පෙන්නන්න එපා ඔයගොල්ලෝ අපි දන්නවා මෙතන ඉන්න කෙනා ඇස් බ්ලයින්ඩ් ඔයාගේ ඇස් පේන්නේ නැහැ.
Police say that extensive statements are being recorded from the matrons. Our correspondent said that the children who were sexually abused have been subjected to medical examinations, while the rest are under the care of the Child and Women's Bureau of the Kandy Police.
The 17th annual Neelam Tiruchelva Memorial Lecture was held at the BMICH yesterday.
Professor Ronald C. Sly, who was chosen by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan to be one of 3 international commissioners for Kenyan Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, was a guest speaker at the lecture.
International involvement. I know that the use of foreigners in your process is a controversial proposition here at the moment. I cannot say whether using foreigners would be helpful or not in the Sri Lanka context. If you do decide to include foreign nationals in some or all of your processes, and I do think there are some strong advantages to doing so, it is important that ultimate control of your process remain with Sri Lankans. In other words, foreign nationals should not be given supermajority powers over their Sri Lankan counterparts, as was done in Cambodia. Instead, if they are used, they should be added to increase legitimacy, both domestically and internationally, to increase technical and comparative expertise, and to increase transparency.
Neelakandan Tiruchelvam was a lawyer, academic, politician and member of parliament from the TULF who founded the International Centre for Ethnic Studies and was instrumental in drafting the 1995 Constitutional Reform and Devolution Plan. Tiruchelvam received his secondary education at Royal College, Colombo, and after receiving his LLB degree from the University of Colombo, proceeded to Harvard Law School. On the morning of the 29th of July 1999, Thiruchelvam was assassinated in a suicide bomb attack near the Kinji Road, Rosemead Place Junction in Colombo.
The Consultation Task Force for Mechanisms of Reconciliation held a session in Kilinochchi today to seek public feedback on reconciliation mechanisms.
The dialogue was held at the Pachalepalli Divisional Secretariat in Kilinochchi. Residents residing in areas that come under the purview of the Pachalepalli Divisional Secretariat were present for the dialogue, which also saw the participation of Secretary of the Consultation Task Force on Mechanisms for Reconciliation, Dr. Pakisoti Sarvanamuttu. If reconciliation is to take place in the country, all communities should be given equal rights. Immediate measures were taken following the recent explosions in the southern part of the country, but it has been nearly 7 years since the end of the war, and there is still no progress here. As part of the reconciliation process, lands of the people which are being held by the armed forces should be released and given back to the people. The process of removing landmines in Muhammale should be expedited.
The Sri Lanka team that will compete in the 2016 Olympic Games took flight to the host city Rio de Janeiro in Brazil today.
Prior to their departure, the members of the Sri Lanka Olympic team engaged in religious observances at the National Olympic Committee headquarters in Colombo. The team, which consists of 9 sportsmen and women, is headed by Anuradha Indrajit Kure, who will be competing in the marathon at the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Marathon runner Niluka Rajasekara, javelin thrower Sumedha Ranasinghe, swimmers Mathiwabe Singhe and Kimiko Rahim will represent Sri Lanka at the Olympic Games. The team is also made up of Mangala Samarakun, who will be competing in the shooting event, and Chamra Nuwan Dharmawardhana, who will be competing in judo. Members of the Sri Lanka Olympic team, coaches and the National Olympic Committee officials participated in the religious observances held today to invoke blessings on the team. Secretary to the Ministry of Sports D.M.R.B. Disanayaka, Director General of Sports R.M.S.P. Bandara, Chairman of the National Olympic Committee Hemasari Fernando and NOC Secretary Maxwell De Silva officially handed over the Sri Lanka flag to the team. Sports shooter Mangala Samarakun and swimmer Mathiwabe Singhe were not present at the event held today. NOC Secretary Maxwell De Silva will function as the Chief of the Sri Lanka Olympic Committee.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News. For the News First team, I'm Sandaru Ferdinando.
And I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Good night. Take care.